Okay.
Okay, so tell me what you see on this graph.
So the goal is still for each bar to go within the shaded area.
Yeah.
And that's not what we're seeing.
Yeah.
But the moderate high came down some, which gives us more of an increase,
Yeah.
low being higher and high being lower, but there's still not the pattern we're looking for within that shaded.
Yes.
So there's still something off.
There is still something off. So I think we all agree she's SLD. And I think we need to make the decision of what is GC, which is your high over there. Is GC, let me turn up all your reds. Is GC, are we going to consider it average because we're saying she's Spanish dominant? Or are we going to, if so, then GC becomes average, even though we know it's not? Or do we feel like she truly has a disability in oral expression and listening comp above and beyond her second language acquisition? Right? So that's the question that we have to answer.
I kind of lean towards the oral expression listening comp.
There has to be some skill in listening comp though to show that much of a decrease in testing from first grade to second based on whether she's hearing the questions or not, right? I'm just looking at that score drop.
But that's one piece of data. So sorry. Okay, so this doesn't tell me tons, the formal English and Spanish testing, because it's not consistent, right? It's not like this is kind of in the same range. So none of it's great. So let me scroll down to the academics. I'm not going to worry about this right now. COGAT is probably read to her, and that was okay. 101 verbal, 91 nonverbal, 80 quantitative, compositive, and 90. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's similar to our COG scores. Like, that's okay. Math scores, like, why is the math so low? Do you see what I mean? Like, why? Because she's in second grade, so we are math facts, and we are counting from a group, and like, there's not a lot of language in that. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it really isn't a huge drop going from, now that I'm looking at that graph, I mean, there's a drop, but it's not big enough to say that it wouldn't be a listening comp.
Yep. Okay, so her M class has always been terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not getting any better. It's just not making any progress. Look at this.
She went down. Well, it's up and down.
Mm-hmm. So her phonics screener is still not great. She still doesn't know all of her letters and her letter sounds. Mm-hmm. Okay. Her qualitative reading inventory is a pre-primer, so that's like a kinder. But that's like repetitive text if we think about it. Okay. She's not able to keep up with second grade work. She's made minimal progress across the board. Mm-hmm. Right?
And I think this teacher's pretty solid.
I think she is too. Mm-hmm.
So I don't think she's getting good instruction.
I think she is too. So then let's see what the teacher says. She gets guided reading, teacher table, Title I interventions for reading, writing, and math, and touch phonics. She gets accommodations. She's performing below grade level across in all subjects. Okay. So there's no language in math computation. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we've got everything else low, and nothing is like significantly different, right? It's sitting all in the 70s.
Yeah.
Okay, that's in English. We go to Spanish, and she hasn't had any.
It's pre-K.
She was in pre-K. She was in Spanish, but she hasn't had any Spanish since then, and so she's 67, 70, 78, 87 in writing samples. But at that grade, all you have to do on the WJ or the Batteria is your name, copying, filling in the blank of the sentence. So
Okay.
but her spelling was
Average.
but in Spanish, you only hear, there's just one sound.
Mhm.
Okay. So academics were, for the purpose of all this, academics are poor in both languages with the exception of spelling. Okay. But if spelling were really okay, we would see it elsewhere.
Mhm.
We're good so far?
I think so.
Jewel, you okay?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I do think her math comp is probably okay when you take all the language out. But when do we instruct with no language?
Mhm.
So I think the question is, do we say she is SLD and listening comp and oral expression? Or do we say second language is depressing the scores and we call her, like, do we think she's dyslexic? I guess is the question.
Tamika does not think she's dyslexic.
Of all the kids.
Yeah.
All the kids.
She literally.
This one is.
She literally wrote a note in some of this one because it isn't as clear. Seems like SLD, but not seeing the dyslexia piece.
How does she not? She doesn't know all of her letters. She doesn't know all of her numbers. This is one that they should have not referred. They should have put some. I'm not sure about all these interventions. Okay, I'm sorry. That was an opinion.
Oh yeah, no, it's okay. I was just telling.
Because her C-top is not terrible. Like, let's go back and like truly look at this. Okay, so pull up the dyslexia questions in the report. Pull them up.
If she's never gotten
sorry.
If she's never gotten instruction in Spanish,
Mm-hmm.
right, and her scores are where they're at in the Spanish with reading and all of that, wouldn't it speak to if she gets specific designed instruction? Like, that leads me to think maybe dyslexia. Because if she gets designed instruction, then
so if we go back
it wouldn't.
And we looked at all the data, right?
Mhm.
Okay, GC, we're not sure what we're doing with GC yet. Okay, that's fine. We're going to put a pin in that. GF is a 97. GV is 100. Working memory is a 76. Okay, so I definitely think that's low because it's not great in Spanish either. So her GSM, but it's her working memory that's low. Are you writing this down? Jules, working memory is low?
Yep.
Okay. Her processing speed is slow, but it's not terrible. It's not her lowest. Rapid naming is okay. So we have 1, 2, 3. We have 5 GA auditory processing subtests, and 2 of them are okay, and 3 of them are not.
Right.
Okay, in both languages. So that tells me her GA is low. Right? If I have 5 and 3 are low in both languages, we're calling GA a weakness. So GLR is intact. So we have low GA, low GSM, lowish processing speed. So, okay, and GC may or may not. Okay. So go back to your dyslexia questions. What are they?
Right here?
Yeah.
Like here or each one?
Okay. Difficult for learning to spell. Yes.
In English, yes. Lack of reading fluency, yes. Difficulty reading, yes.
Difficulty with PA.
Decoding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Her rapid naming's fine. That's okay. Difficulty with
Written composition.
yes. Yes. No history of similar problems, and then her math is fine. Her math is fine because her rapid naming is fine. Okay. And I'm not sure Tamika is thinking clearly because Sarah is a really hard case.
Okay.
I
I just told her we were going to talk about it.
Okay.
So
Do you have a writing sample with you? Juice is her folder.
that's our folder. Really neat hands.
Yeah. So she's not dysgraphic. We can say no to that.
I think I already did.
Is this one I watched and afterwards I was like, wow, that was really neat handwriting. I think that might
But
be
look
the
at
same.
it. Look at it in English. Like it's not as pretty.
It's still not bad.
No, it's still not
compared to what
bad.
I've seen.
Mr. Smith, look at the balloon. It's just still not as. So, I do think she's Spanish dominant conversationally. I think she could be dyslexic.
Okay.
But that doesn't account for. I mean, that accounts for the spelling difficulties. That accounts for the reading difficulties. But the math problem solving, it does not. But the working memory can.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think dyslexia and math problem solving? I just don't know about the listening. I'm getting all scores.
Mm-hmm.
Well, alright.
It's better in Spanish. It's still not great.
Yeah. Look, I think this is where I'm hung up.
So that is a very typical performance for someone who doesn't have true language dominance. Like she's in the middle of her process, and she's one where I really wish we could see her in a Spanish program or an English
Yeah.
life, you know what I mean, and see
Yeah.
if they picked a language, if she could excel at one.
Yeah. I think that there's so many factors here with this one because
Yeah.
she's in English school for
Yes.
2 years, 3, maybe 3.
Kinder first and second. We're almost done with second. So.
Okay, so 3 years,
Mhm.
but she's taking Spanish outside of school.
Mhm.
She's speaking Spanish at home.
Mhm. But her Spanish oral language is not where it should be.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if that was truly working with her, it would be higher.
Right.
So you talk about this is hard when she's 7.
Mhm.
When she's 14, this is almost impossible.
Yeah.
Right? So 'cause we get kids like this initial vowels at secondary, and it's like, well, what do we do with them? Like, how do we support them? Because they never developed language dominance. So I mean, I think we would be better off calling her SLD dyslexia. I know that is hard for you. But look, go back to throw out the academic stuff, right, for just a minute. Go back to the COG, which is why we still give COGs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, similarities was a 90.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that tells me some of the English is sticking, because that's a hard task.
Mm-hmm.
In vocabulary, you can give just a couple of words and get credit, and she wasn't able to do that.
Yeah.
But the rest of these, she did okay on. Do you see what I mean? Like, rapid naming's okay. Long-term memory's okay. I mean, there's less language in them, of course, but, I mean, these should still be higher than they are. This should be higher. I mean, if both of these were okay, and this GA right here was fine, I would tell you not to worry about it.
Okay.
But it's not.
But yeah. There's just so many I don't know the word.
Factors.
Moving
pieces.
There's a lot of moving pieces, there's a lot of things, but there's so many skills that are like all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But that tells me she's got pieces of it, so she's not generalizing what she's able to do.
Yeah.
Because like this, there's no language in this, right?
Yeah.
And this isn't
still, yeah.
That's an 80.
Mm-hmm.
There's low language in this, that's fine. There's language in this, but she did the same here, right? I mean, she had 90, 55, 75, 95, 94, 80.
Yeah.
So it's still not great, but it tells me she's got it in isolation, but she's not able to generalize it.
Right. Mm-hmm. So you think SLD, dyslexia, and math problem solving?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
So what questions can I answer about all of that?
I think we focus more on the reading and the dyslexia. I haven't seen enough to see the math problem solving. Can you show that to me?
Mm-hmm. Well, because we don't have as much data on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can do it here real quick. We've got her report card, which isn't great because some of it's in Spanish, but I mean, minimal progress.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
A teacher reported her below in math, calc, and reasoning.
Okay.
She couldn't read a clock, read a calendar, count by fives, read a 3-digit number, or add and subtract numbers, 2-digit numbers, which is what they should be able to do.
So
in Spanish, she was low too.
Okay. What were her math? The English scores for math?
Oh, for math?
Yeah. So I mean, pretty similar to the Spanish.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Right on the Spanish.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with that, you're saying in both languages. That's why you landed on. Okay. That makes sense. Or the main of our discussion had been dyslexia or not. So.
And so I think you'll be fine with your impact statement. And then do you want me to... Are we going to consider GC average? Do we want to kick out the 56 and call it average?
Six seems so low.
It is, but it is though.
Yeah.
So I think we kick this statement out and put the other one in.
Okay.
And call GC low.
Okay. I just think it's too low for me to not.
No, I think you're right. And it's not, her graph is not typical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying she would have, like you're stating, she'll have low GC, low processing, and low auditory.
And
working memory.
Working memory. Okay.
Yeah. I do think you need a statement in here that talks about I'm gonna write something. The influence as helping. I gotta type it before I can say it.
I'm gonna tag to make
Your 15 minutes
Yes.
are up too.
Yes. I was waiting for an official. This is what we're saying.
Well, I don't know what
Kind
we're
of tie it
saying.
up with a pretty bow.
We're gonna call her SLD
Okay.
and dyslexia, and then I'm gonna help her with a sentence that talks about how, as evidenced by the language testing, she does have higher conversational skills in Spanish. However, she's not able to generalize those Spanish skills to the academic realm or something like that.
That makes sense. Okay. Lovely. Great job, ladies.